We've been instructed to inspect a commercial property on behalf of one of our landlord clients of ours. This is what we call a terminal schedule of dilapidations preparation. So it's end of lease claim against the tenant for anything that he's not done to the property or anything he should have repaired or redecorated and not done. Essentially where there's failure to comply with the lease. We will act as both landlord surveyor and tenant surveyor, obviously not on the same project, but any dilapidation surveyor will generally act for both parties. Most of our work is through the landlords, and we have one quite large landlord client who passes us quite a bit of work. So I thought I'd put this one on video. So first things first, we need to have a look through the lease. So I've done away with the front page because that's all the personal information, and obviously I've blotted out anything that's specific to this property. So this is a fairly basic lease. This is only 14 odd pages in all. It's for a small commercial unit. The one that we're going to be looking at is a shop, but the process is essentially the same. So our first task as building surveyors appointed by the landlord is to read the lease and to work out what the tenant's repairing obligations are. So the lease will be between two parties. It'll be for a set term commencing on a date, and most leases will have various schedules in them. So the main ones we're looking at here is our first schedule, the premises. This actually defines what the premises is. And then we've also got a lease plan with this, which shows where the property is outlined in red. If this was a multi-storey building, then we would hopefully have plans of every level of the building that we can then refer to. If it's perhaps a industrial kind of estate office building, those lease plans may exclude things like common parts such as stairwells if they serve other offices, or loos that are in the common parts. So the idea of having it all listed out is it actually tells you in detail what is covered by the lease. So if we just zoom in slightly on this, things like concrete floors are included, flat roof, pitched roof, gutterings and downpipes all included, all walls situated wholly within the demised premises, the steel and timber entrance doors and the forecourt, so they're all included in the demise, which is what we need to consider when we're looking at the overall inspection of the property. Schedule 2 is just definitions, so anyone that's perhaps new to reading a lease or needs something to be confirmed, it will tell you what conduits means, what neighbouring properties means, what personnel means, and stuff like that. There we have our plan of the property, and we've got some various other schedules here. Now the ones we're looking for are tenants' obligations. So the landlord will have obligations under the lease and the tenant will have obligations under the lease. Generally there'll be more obligations on the tenant because he's the one that's going to be occupying the property for a set period of time, 3, 5, 7, 10, 25 years, however long it is. So his obligations are spread out over the next 4 or 5 pages. So what we need to do is go through the lease, and determine what issues he needs to, what terms he needs to comply with, so that we can relate our schedule of dilapidations back to the lease. So number 1 is to pay rent. We're not really that fussed about paying rent. If the landlord hasn't a rent issue, then it's his lawyers to do that. Pay all taxes, unoccupied issues, pay electricity and gas. Again, they're not really applicable to us. So number 5, to keep and maintain the demise in good and substantial repair and condition. That's top of the page. And to keep all windows and the sanitation, heating equipment in good and substantial repair. Okay, it goes on a little bit more, but that's our first main obligation. So that is a repairing obligation on the tenant. It's not a decoration one, it's not a yielding up or reinstatement one, it's a repairing obligation. Where this can get a bit technical is this word here, keep. So if we're looking at a property that says, we say to the landlord at the end of the lease term, the roof's in poor condition, it needs recovering, and the tenant's fight back may be, the roof is in poor condition when I took the property on. Well, the lawyers would look at this to keep and maintain the demise in good and substantial repair. You can't keep something in good repair if it's not in good repair. So the argument would be, well, it says to keep it in good repair, so there's an onus on you to put it into good repair first, regardless of its condition prior to you taking on the property. So that's our repairing obligation. We've then got here a redecoration obligation. All painting and decorating last year's with colours and patterns to as landlord may specify. And there will be somewhere in here as well about regular redecoration of the property. If this was just a short 3-year term, there may not be interim decoration clauses, but certainly on anything maybe 5 or 6 years or longer, there almost definitely would be. And then the rest of this is, again, keep it in good repair. What else have we got? And then no overloading of ceiling joists or supports or walls. So if we was to visit and we noticed a mezzanine floor is deflecting because they've been storing pallets of bricks on there, then under that term they failed to comply with that clause of the lease, and they will be expected to repair that. The main 3 causes we're looking for, I'm not going to go through all this because it'd be really quite dull, but the main 3 causes we're looking for is repairing obligations, reinstatement obligations. So an office may have fit out, a shop may have fit out, all that needs to be put back to shell standard or as it was when the tenant took on the property, and redecoration obligations. There are a few other bits and pieces as well, but there are our main 3. So once we've reviewed the lease, we then come on to our schedule of dilapidations. Now this is a blank, so we don't use, it wouldn't actually look like this, but it would be obviously all filled in. So there's our cover page, and then this is kind of our main opening page of the lease. It is not the property address, so we don't need to worry about that. It's just a pretend. So the schedule of dilapidations is between is at this property under the terms of the lease here, and it will say who the landlord was and who the tenant was, and that's our signature. Then we've just got a contents page. Now introduction. Now this again will have all the details of who the landlord is, who the tenant is, any limitations on our inspection. Then at the top, who's inspected it, what the property address is, and that kind of thing. Now it comes to the main part of the lease, really. The main part of the schedule of dilapidations is the repairing, redecoration, reinstatement, and how the tenant hasn't complied with it. So we look at these generally in various areas first. So what we've done on this one as an example is we've looked at all our repairing obligations first. So at ground floor level, ceiling, in compliance with clause 6 and 20 of the lease, ceiling's been left in poor condition, no making good has been undertaken where internal walls have been removed, make good the ceiling where internal walls have been removed, overskim the ceiling, £800 to do that work. And then we'll go through the entire property room by room, outside as well if the lease includes all the external parts, and we would list all the items of disrepair that the tenant needs to remedy. Now once we're done with the disrepair, we can then look at decorations. So on the ground floor, so we've done all the disrepair on the ground floor, and then we've got redecorations to the ground floor. We then did the same with the basement, so we've got all the disrepair items and we've got redecoration of the basement, and then again the same on the first floor and the upper floors. Now this particular lease I'm showing you through didn't include any externals, but the one that we're going to look at does, so it's going to be slightly different. And then we have a summary of the claim, and this is then at this point the lawyers will generally take over and serve it. So we've got all of our disrepair costs, 18,880, all of our redecoration costs, 3,238, and then any reinstatement works, and here there wasn't any. So that subtotals that, and then we've got 15% allowance for the contractor's overheads and profits. Then we've got 10% fees, 1% for CDM, so it gives us a total section for the fees allowance, and then so potentially the cost of doing the works that the tenant has not done should be just shy of £28,000. We're not putting anything for the loss of rent and service charges, that kind of thing, because we don't know at this stage what that could be. And then we've got preparation of our schedule of dilapidations. Looking at that cost, this was trouble with producing standard documents. This could be 10 years old and it still have the original, perhaps the original fee in there. And then we calculate separately. Again, we charge more than that now, but separately there's some negotiation fees because we will have some issues to pick up with the tenant surveyor. So next step is onto the property to see what we're dealing with. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to my colleague who did the inspection on this job. It's going to jump to him quite abruptly because I've deleted the front section off because I don't really want to identify our client's property. So while I'm doing this bit of chit chat, I've just got a high street from a Kentish town just to lay over the top. So I'll hand over to Abeda. It's the first time he's done a video, so he'll just whiz around the property showing you the kind of things that we are looking at.
Going through to the ground floor, we have ceiling tiles to the ceiling, which a number of them need replacing. See photos. Redecoration of the walls is required, as well as part replacement of the carpet tiles to the floor. The tenant has left behind some shop fittings, which will also need to be removed and disposed of. And fittings and fixtures also left behind by the client. The front shop window glazing will also need replacement. Joinery works are required to the shop floor. And redecoration of the walls will be needed throughout. Moving on into the hallway. We have redecoration works required throughout the hallway. Carpet tiles are in fair condition. Moving on upstairs. Stay there, Darren. We'll need to redecorate throughout, to the ceiling, to the walls. Boxing in to the column will need to be made good. Reinstatement of the ceiling lining will be required, and redecoration throughout the hallway as previously mentioned. You can come up now. Moving in into the office, we have part replacement of ceiling tiles, redecoration of the walls, removal of tenants' contents, and redecoration works. Windows are of UPVC construction and they appear to be in fair condition. Moving on, we have the main hall, which is extensive in size. So we have ceiling tiles replacement, see photos for number, tenants, fixtures and fittings that require to be removed and made good, tenants' contents that require removal and disposal, carpet tiles in part replacement, timber frame sash windows that require redecoration, and then an element of external works that require making good. Moving on to the kitchenette. We have vinyl floor covering that requires a clean. All joins appear to be in good condition. UPVC windows that appear to be in fair condition. Redecoration of the wall surfaces. Part replacement of ceiling tiles, mainly this one. Kitchen needs the handle replaced. Otherwise it is in fair condition, if original. Flooring to the WC is in fair condition, although not quite fitted properly. Redecoration of the walls will be required and the ceiling. And then finally, a full clean in the WC. The joinery will need to be made good, but otherwise in fair condition.
So once we picked up all the information on site, we've had a look through the lease, we've done our site visit, it's back to the office so we can then finalise our schedule. It will be, like I say, room by room, item by item, and then split that into repairs, redecoration and reinstatement. And once we've done that, then it's off to the landlord. He'll either serve it directly or will serve via his solicitors. So I hope you enjoyed that. It's something a little bit different. We don't do a tremendous amount of dilapidations. Our main work is insurance claims and defects, but we're certainly capable of doing dilapidations work. We've done a fair few over the years, and it is something a little bit different, and why not? So we've certainly got the qualifications and the competency to do it. So thank you for getting this far. If you do like the contents of our videos, please like and subscribe. That'd be bloody marvellous. Thank you very much.